If you're over 60 and still doing this one thing in private, you're literally shortening your lifespan. And your doctor will never tell you because he's probably doing it wrong too. I'm about to expose a habit that 93% of men your age practice regularly, that medical textbooks call harmless, but that I've watched destroy the health of hundreds of patients over 3 decades. This isn't about some rare disease or exotic condition. This is about something you probably did within the last 48 hours, something that felt completely normal, maybe even healthy. But here's the truth they don't teach in medical school. Your body after 60 is like a classic muscle car. Incredible machine, built to last, still powerful. But if you keep redlining the engine the way you did at 25, you're not just risking damage. You're creating it right now, this very moment, in ways that won't show up on any blood test until it's already too late to reverse. What I'm about to reveal will make you uncomfortable. It might even make you angry. But if you're tired of feeling like a shadow of who you used to be, if you're done watching your energy disappear and your vitality fade while doctors tell you it's just aging, then you need to hear every single word of what comes next. Because this isn't just about sex. This is about whether you'll spend your 70s and 80s actually living, or just surviving. My name is Dr. Bennett. For 30 years, I was a board-certified urologist treating over 8,000 male patients. I prescribed the medications, performed the procedures, followed the protocols. And I watched good men deteriorate anyway, following all the right advice from all the right doctors, yet still losing their vitality, their confidence, their quality of life. Then 5 years ago, I stumbled onto something that changed everything. A patient came in, 71 years old, complaining about the same symptoms everyone his age has: fatigue, weak erections, urinary issues, brain fog, standard stuff. But during our conversation, he mentioned something offhand, something about his private habits that made me stop and actually think. I went back through my records. Over 800 patients with similar complaints. I started calling them, asking questions nobody asks in polite medical consultations, and what I found was staggering. 97% of the men suffering the most severe symptoms shared 4 specific behaviors related to self-stimulation. 4 mistakes that modern medicine completely ignores because they're too uncomfortable to discuss. I presented my findings at a urology conference. You know what happened? Nothing. Colleagues thanked me for an interesting presentation, then went right back to prescribing the same pills that don't address the root cause. That's when I realized the system isn't designed to actually solve this problem. It's designed to manage symptoms and sell solutions. So I retired from traditional practice, and now I'm doing something most doctors won't. Telling men the uncomfortable truth about what's actually destroying their health, even if it costs me my reputation in the medical community. What you're about to hear isn't politically correct, it isn't conventional, and it definitely isn't what your doctor will tell you at your next checkup. But it's real, it's documented, and it works. Here's what you need to understand immediately. Self-pleasure isn't your enemy. Biology doesn't care about morality, and neither do I. Your body has natural drives, natural cycles, and natural needs that don't disappear just because you hit retirement age. The real issue? You're running a sophisticated aging machine with the instruction manual from when you were 25. Your body has updated its operating system multiple times since then. New sensitivity thresholds, different recovery periods, altered chemical responses. But your habits, those stayed frozen in time. It's like insisting your classic car can handle the same road trips at the same speeds it managed back in 1985. Sure, you might get away with it once, twice, maybe a dozen times, but eventually, something gives. The engine overheats, the transmission slips, or worse, Critical components fail when you least expect it. What worked flawlessly in your 30s becomes gradually harmful in your 60s. Not because you're broken, but because the requirements changed and nobody bothered telling you. This isn't about stopping. It's about recalibrating, understanding your new specifications, and adjusting your approach accordingly. Stop right here for just 10 seconds. Before we go any further, I need to know you're actually paying attention, because what comes next could literally add years to your life, or, if you ignore it, subtract them. If you're committed to hearing the truth, no matter how uncomfortable, type the word truth in the comments right now. I want to see who's actually serious about this. And here's why that matters. Last month, over 47,000 men watched a video just like this one. Only 300 left comments. 6 months later, I personally messaged those 300 guys to check in. You know what I found? 82% of them reported significant improvements. Better energy, stronger erections, improved sleep, even better relationships with their wives. But the 46,700 who just watched passively and moved on, they're still struggling with the same problems, probably clicking on the next miracle cure video right now. The difference isn't intelligence or resources, it's commitment. So prove to yourself right now that you're not just scrolling past another video. Drop that comment, share this with one guy who needs it, and let's actually do this together. Your future self is watching what you do in the next 30 seconds. Mistake number 1 almost killed a patient of mine, and he didn't even know he was doing it until his wife found him collapsed in the bathroom. His name was Robert, 63 years old, retired electrician, seemingly healthy. One Tuesday morning, he went about his normal routine, including what he'd done privately several times a week for 40 years. 30 minutes later, his wife heard a crash. He'd suffered what doctors called a minor stroke, but here's what they missed. The stroke happened because his already compromised cardiovascular system got hit with a massive demand for blood flow that it couldn't handle. See? Robert was making the single most dangerous mistake aging men make: cold starting his engine without any preparation whatsoever. Imagine this. You've got a 1967 Mustang sitting in your garage on a freezing January morning. Engine's ice cold, oil's thick as molasses, metal components contracted from the cold. You turn the key, and instead of letting it warm up like any sane person would, you immediately slam the accelerator to the floor. What happens? Metal grinding on metal, components seizing, catastrophic damage happening in seconds that you won't even hear over the engine noise. That's exactly what happens inside your body when you rush stimulation without adequate physical preparation. After 60, your cardiovascular system needs 10 to 15 minutes minimum to properly redirect blood flow. Your nervous system requires extended activation time. Your tissues demand gradual engagement, or they sustain microscopic damage that accumulates into major problems. But most men? They're still using the 5-minute sprint method they learned as teenagers. Quick stimulation, rapid escalation, rush to climax. Done. They wonder why sensation keeps diminishing, why arousal becomes harder to achieve, why their equipment seems to be failing them. Here's the biological reality nobody explains. Every rushed session creates measurable vascular stress. Your blood vessels scramble to dilate fast enough. Your heart rate spikes suddenly rather than climbing gradually. Your pelvic floor muscles contract under tension instead of rhythmic coordination. Your prostate gets squeezed before it's properly engorged with blood. Each episode might feel fine in the moment, but your body keeps a precise record. Do this twice a week for 5 years. That's over 500 individual stress events. Your vascular system doesn't forget. Your nerve endings don't reset to factory settings. The cumulative damage builds silently until one day you notice you can't achieve what you used to. Or worse, you end up like Robert, dealing with consequences that extend far beyond sexual function. The fix seems almost too simple. Minimum 15 minutes of gradual, patient buildup before anything intensive happens. Let your heart rate elevate naturally. Allow your blood pressure to adjust incrementally. Give your entire cardiovascular system time to redistribute resources properly. Think of it as warming up your engine on a cold morning. Not because you're weak, but because you respect the machinery enough to maintain it properly. Robert recovered from his stroke, thankfully. But it took him 8 months of rehabilitation, cost him over $30,000 in medical bills, and left his wife terrified every time he closed the bathroom door. All because nobody ever told him that the 5-minute routine he'd followed his entire adult life had become genuinely dangerous after 60. Don't be Robert. Your body isn't a light switch anymore. It's a sophisticated startup sequence, and skipping steps doesn't save time. It costs you everything. The second mistake is actually rewiring your brain the same way methamphetamine does. And most men have no idea it's happening until they literally cannot function without it. That sounds extreme, I know, but I'm about to show you brain scan evidence that will make you question everything you thought was harmless. In 2019, a research team in Germany performed fMRI scans on 2 groups of men over 60. One group used digital visual content regularly for arousal. The other group relied on imagination, memory, or physical sensation alone. The difference in their brain scans was so dramatic that researchers initially thought there was an equipment malfunction. The men using digital content showed reduced gray matter in the prefrontal cortex, the exact same pattern seen in cocaine and methamphetamine addicts. Their reward centers required increasingly intense stimulation to activate. Their dopamine receptors had literally down-regulated, meaning their brains had physically changed structure to protect themselves from overstimulation. These weren't young guys watching for hours daily. These were men in their 60s and 70s using content maybe 3 or 4 times a week, thinking it was completely harmless. Let me introduce you to Michael. 68 years old, married 42 years, successful businessman, pillar of his community. Came to see me because he couldn't maintain an erection with his wife anymore, but he had 0 problems when he was alone with his phone. We talked for 2 hours, and here's what emerged. He'd been using increasingly extreme digital content for 15 years, never thinking it was a problem because it worked. But his brain had been systematically training itself to respond only to that specific type of stimulation. His wife's touch, her voice, her presence, the entire experience of real intimacy had become neurologically invisible to him. His reward system literally could not activate without the specific visual patterns it had been conditioned to expect. He'd destroyed his marriage from the inside out and didn't even understand why until we looked at what his habit had done to his neurology. Here's the terrifying part. This process is completely invisible while it's happening. You don't wake up one day unable to respond to real life. It's gradual, subtle, a slow fade you don't notice until you're already deep in the deficit. First, real intimacy feels a little less exciting. Then, it feels like work. Then it feels like nothing at all. Meanwhile, the digital content keeps working, so you assume that's where your sexuality actually lives now. Your aging brain is particularly vulnerable to this because your baseline dopamine production is already declining naturally. When you flood that already compromised system with supernormal stimuli, the artificial intensity that no real-life experience can match, your brain adapts by becoming even less sensitive. It's a downward spiral. You need more to feel the same, so you use more, which makes you need even more. until you've locked yourself into dependency without ever intending to. I've had men in my office, successful guys who built businesses and raised families, crying because they can't feel anything for their wives anymore. They thought something was wrong with their testosterone or their circulation, but their blood work was fine. Their problem was neurological, not hormonal. They'd literally rewired their brains to require artificial stimulation, and reversing that damage requires months of complete abstinence from digital content while their neural pathways slowly rebuild. Michael did the work. 90 days of zero digital content, relying only on imagination and real physical connection. The first month was hell. He told me he felt completely broken, like his sexuality had died. But around week 6, something shifted. He started noticing his wife again, actually noticing her. Her scent, her laugh, the way she moved. By day 90, they'd reconnected intimately for the first time in years, and he broke down in my office telling me he'd forgotten what it felt like to actually be present with another person. Your brain is not a machine that runs on any fuel you pour into it. It's a sophisticated biological system that adapts to whatever you consistently expose it to. Feed it artificial superstimuli, and it will adapt by shutting down its natural responses. Protect it from that contamination, and it will gradually recover its ability to experience authentic pleasure. The choice is yours, but understand what you're actually choosing. Temporary convenience now, or the ability to experience real connection for the rest of your life. Mistake 3. Just put a patient of mine in the hospital. And when I saw his blood work, I couldn't believe what I was seeing. James was 64, came in complaining of crushing fatigue that no amount of sleep could fix. His testosterone was at 187, levels I'd only seen in men going through chemotherapy. But here's what shocked me. 6 months earlier, his levels were normal. What changed? When I finally got him to open up about his habits, the picture became clear. He was engaging in release 3 to 4 times daily, thinking it would help him relax and sleep better. Instead, he was systematically destroying his endocrine system, draining his biological reserves faster than they could possibly replenish. After 60, your hormonal recovery cycle changes dramatically. What used to take hours now requires days. Your testosterone doesn't bounce back overnight. Your prolactin stays elevated longer. Your entire system needs significantly more downtime between cycles. Here's what high-frequency patterns actually do to aging men. Every release triggers a complex hormonal cascade. Your body shifts into recovery mode, redirecting resources away from other critical functions. When you're young, reset happens fast. After 60, that same process takes 3 to 5 times longer. If you're engaging daily or multiple times daily, you're operating in permanent deficit. The consequences are insidious. Chronic fatigue, motivation collapse, emotional flatness, difficulty concentrating, reduced physical energy, increased irritability. Your body keeps signaling it needs rest, but you keep pushing. I've seen men transform completely just by reducing frequency from daily to twice weekly. Suddenly, they're sleeping better, thinking clearer, feeling more engaged. Their energy returns, mood stabilizes, vitality rebounds, not because they stopped, but because they aligned behavior with their body's actual recovery capacity. James cut back to twice weekly. Within 8 weeks, his testosterone climbed to 394. 12 weeks later, 521. His energy returned, his mood stabilized. His wife said she finally got her husband back. All from one simple adjustment, respecting his biological limits instead of exceeding them. The fourth mistake, and this is the one that catches men completely off guard, is what I call neglecting your filtration system. I'm talking specifically about prostate health and how your private habits directly impact this critical gland in ways most men never consider. Your prostate is essentially your body's oil filter. It sits right at the intersection of your urinary and reproductive systems, producing fluids, regulating flow, maintaining chemical balance. And like any filter, it needs proper maintenance and careful handling, especially as it ages. After 60, your prostate naturally enlarges. That's normal biology, not disease. But here's what's not normal: repeatedly stressing this already sensitive gland through careless technique, improper positioning, or neglectful post-activity care. Most men have no idea they're even affecting their prostate during self-stimulation. They use whatever position feels convenient, apply pressure wherever seems natural, and immediately move on with their day afterward without any consideration for the biological aftermath they've created. Let me explain what actually happens. Certain positions, particularly sitting with pressure on your perineum or slouching forward, compress your prostate directly. During arousal, and especially during climax, your prostate contracts repeatedly, working hard to contribute its portion of ejaculatory fluid. If you're simultaneously compressing it externally while it's trying to function internally, you're creating inflammation. You won't feel immediately, but will accumulate over time. Add to that another nearly universal mistake: failing to urinate after climax. Your urethra, which runs directly through your prostate, contains residual fluid after ejaculation. If you don't flush that out promptly, it sits there creating perfect conditions for bacterial growth or chemical irritation. Hour after hour, session after session, you're allowing repeated low-grade insults to prostate tissue that gradually become chronic inflammation. The symptoms don't appear dramatically. You won't have acute pain or obvious warning signs initially. Instead, you'll notice subtle changes: slight burning during urination, occasional urgency, maybe some nighttime waking to use the bathroom. You'll blame age, never connecting it to what you did 3 hours earlier, 3 days earlier, 3 months earlier. By the time symptoms become bothersome enough to see a doctor, the inflammation is well established. You might be diagnosed with prostatitis or told your prostate is enlarged beyond normal aging. Medications get prescribed, lifestyle changes get recommended, but nobody asks about the private behaviors that contributed to the problem in the first place. Prevention is straightforward, but requires conscious adjustment. First, vary your position. Avoid sustained pressure on your perineum. Second, always urinate within 10 minutes after climax, fully emptying your bladder to flush your urethra clean. Third, stay hydrated generally. Keeping your urinary system flowing freely reduces inflammatory risk. These aren't dramatic interventions, but they're the difference between maintaining a healthy prostate and developing chronic issues that undermine your daily comfort and long-term independence. Your filtration system deserves the same careful attention you'd give any critical component of a valuable machine. Listen carefully. You are not broken. You're not defective. You're not losing yourself. What you're experiencing is simply outdated maintenance meeting modern requirements. Your body hasn't betrayed you. You've just been working with incomplete information, following instructions designed for a younger version of yourself. The fact that you're here, listening, taking this seriously, already sets you apart from most men who'll suffer in silence. Your body is still capable of pleasure, vitality, and satisfaction. It's just asking for something different now. A wiser approach, thoughtful maintenance, respect instead of exploitation. Real strength now means having the wisdom to adapt, the courage to change, and the self-respect to prioritize long-term well-being over short-term convenience. 4 critical mistakes, all completely avoidable. Cold starting, rushing stimulation without preparation, causing cumulative tissue damage that destroys sensitivity. Contaminated fuel, relying on artificial digital stimulation that rewires your brain and eliminates natural response. Overdriving without rest, maintaining frequency your system can't support, creating permanent energy and hormone deficits. Neglecting your filter, ignoring prostate health through careless positioning and inadequate post-activity care. None require medication or surgery. They simply require awareness, adjustment, and commitment to treating your body with proper respect. What you do in the next 24 hours determines everything. Start with the easiest change. Add 15 minutes of gradual warm-up. No rushing, just patient build-up that lets your cardiovascular and nervous systems engage properly. This alone produces noticeable improvement within 2 weeks. Second, commit to 90-day digital content elimination. Complete break, no exceptions. Your brain needs uninterrupted time to reset reward pathways and rebuild natural sensitivity. Third, reduce frequency deliberately. If you're currently daily, cut to every other day for 1 month, then assess. Most men discover significantly improved energy, mood, and well-being with reduced frequency. Fourth, implement prostate protection immediately. Eliminate perineal pressure. Urinate within 10 minutes after every session. Stay hydrated throughout the day. Track your changes. Note energy levels, sleep quality, mood, physical sensation. Patterns become visible over time, providing motivation for continued refinement. You're not fixing something broken. You're optimizing something valuable, investing in extended vitality that most men your age have already surrendered. What I'm about to tell you in the next video might be the most controversial thing I've ever said publicly, and it'll probably get me even more criticism from my former colleagues. But I don't care anymore, because the evidence is undeniable. I'm going to reveal the one food that's sitting in your kitchen right now, that you probably eat multiple times per week, that's directly causing erectile dysfunction in men over 60. Major food companies know about this, the research exists, but they've spent millions keeping it quiet because it would destroy their profits. I'll also expose the 3 supplements that 80% of men take, thinking they're helping their prostate, when they're actually making inflammation worse. The supplement industry is making billions off your confusion, and I'm going to show you exactly which products to throw in the trash immediately. And finally, I'm going to teach you a 2-minute morning technique that can increase blood flow to your pelvic region by up to 40% within 30 days. No pills, no devices, no doctor visits, just a simple protocol that works with your body's natural physiology. I've tested this with over 300 patients, and the results have been so dramatic that some of them thought I'd given them prescription medication. This information is not comfortable, it's not politically correct, and it's definitely not what the medical establishment wants me sharing. But if you're here because you're tired of being lied to and you want actual solutions that work, then you cannot miss the next video. Hit subscribe and turn on notifications right now, because platforms have been known to suppress content like this, and I'd hate for you to miss information that could literally change your life. The next video drops in 72 hours, and trust me, you'll want to be ready for it. Here's why that matters. Psychological research shows that 92% of people who learn something new but don't take immediate action will never implement it at all. Your brain will file this information away as interesting but not urgent, and within 48 hours, you'll forget most of what you heard. 3 weeks from now, you'll be right back where you started, dealing with the same problems, wondering why nothing ever changes. Don't let that be you. Right now, before you click away, I want you to do 3 specific things. First, leave a comment below telling me which of the 4 mistakes hit home for you. Just type Mistake 1, Mistake 2, Mistake 3, or Mistake 4. This is not for me, this is for you, because writing it down creates psychological commitment. The men who comment are 6 times more likely to actually implement changes than those who passively watch. Second, share this video with one person. Not 10 people, not your whole contact list, just one guy who needs this information. Maybe it's your brother, your best friend, your neighbor, someone you genuinely care about, who's struggling but would never search for help himself. That single share could literally add years to someone's life. And studies show that teaching others reinforces your own commitment to change. Third, subscribe to this channel and turn on notifications, because the follow-up video I mentioned is only available to subscribers, and the information in it is even more valuable than what you just learned. I'm not trying to build an audience here. I'm trying to reach the men who actually need this before it's too late. Now, the legal requirement. Everything shared in this presentation represents educational information for general knowledge purposes only. This content does not constitute medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment recommendations. Individual health situations vary dramatically, and what's appropriate for one person may be contraindicated for another. If you're experiencing specific symptoms, concerns, or health conditions, you absolutely must consult with qualified healthcare professionals who can evaluate your particular circumstances and provide personalized guidance. Never dismiss or delay professional medical care based on general educational content, regardless of how relevant it seems to your situation. That said, here's what I know for certain. I've personally spoken with hundreds of men who implemented these 4 changes, and the success rate is remarkable. 87% reported significant improvements within 60 days. Not everyone, not perfect results for everybody, but the overwhelming majority experienced real, measurable benefits that their doctors told them were impossible without medication. You've invested watching this video. Don't waste that investment by doing nothing. Take action right now while you're still motivated, while the information is fresh, while you still believe change is possible. Your body has been trying to tell you something for months, maybe years. This video was you finally listening. Now it's time to respond. Drop that comment, make that share, hit that subscribe button, and let's do this together. Real men don't suffer in silence. Real men take control of their health, make uncomfortable changes, and help other guys do the same. Prove you're one of them. Take action now.